relationship to each other and relationship to the whole. The relationships are set up at a subatomic level. That is because everything is made from the same thing. So there is what we can call a kinship. What we can call a kinship. Because even before that, we are the same consciousness. We are bits of the same consciousness, so we are one. But as the body, or as we come into physical existence, that shift can be lost. It's like sleeping and dreaming, and the dream is real, but when you wake up, the dream disappears. It's the same concept. So when you come into physical existence, the subatomic particles make the relationship. We forget because we become so engrossed in gaining things. We don't look for the feeling relationship. Now notice, I know how the mind works. Notice I did not say emotional, I said feeling. Okay? There's a difference. There is a difference. Feeling is when you get all purity in what you experience. Emotion is when you add all these words and all the insecurities, fears, doubts. That's when you run into trouble. That's emotional. Okay? It does not have any real place in an ordered universe. The other thing is, now, when we talk about it at that level, at the subatomic level, we're talking about the relationship to all things, all plants, all animals, all minerals, the whole thing. If you remember before, I gave you a step-by-step process of the development of humankind. I talked about 7 levels, or 7 octaves. You're going with the minerals, plants, animals, man, and the different kinds of consciousness of man, all the way up to what we can call the God person. That is the pure vibration of knowledge. Different vibrations, but the relationship is all the same. Man contains within him. When I say man, I'm not speaking just man with a penis now. Mankind. We contain the whole spectrum. Therefore, there is a relationship. Our relationship basically is about gaining things. That is the way we've become focused. So we've forgotten our relationship to the earth, our relationship to the word universe I have to use because I have no other word to use for what it really is. Our relationship to space, and I mean that thing right there, not something way out, space, the final frontier. No, space right there. The distance between you and I. There is a pure relationship. And once that relationship is established, because we get rid of the other thing, gaining stuff, gaining money, gaining clothes, gaining people, whatever all that grasping is. Once we get away from that, we begin to have a relationship with where we are. And that relationship is a communication or a communion. You begin to understand things purely and simply. And once we understand them in their purity, silliness, we just kind of look at it. And as Alan and I were discussing this morning, life becomes sadly funny. You look at it and you go, what? what? And all you can do is laugh. All you can do is laugh. It's like someone comes to you. It's like when you have a little child, and that little child comes to you and tries to fool you, and they're 4 years old, and you look at them and you go, come on. They don't know. So when you look around and these people who try to fool you with the idea of who they are or what they're trying to bring across, you look at them and you go, this is funny. This is really funny. But they don't know. Okay? So you begin to form another relationship with them. They're almost like, as Alan said this morning, a different species. You look at that and you go, why are you living? Why are you trying to live like that? Why not just live purely, simply? Why not just live with what is true? And I don't mean our interpretation of what is true, but what is true. Then we see life differently. Then we begin to pull together our resources in a different way. Our sciences take on a different look. Our relationships with each other take on a different look. But first we have to differentiate between feelings and emotion. Okay? You are always going to have feelings because you have a relationship with everything. You may not know what that is, but you have it. When something is missing or missed, you will have feelings. You will have feelings that it's no longer there. That is going to be painful. But painful is okay. Painful is okay. But in order for painful to be okay, you have to understand that there is only life. We think of it in terms of life and death. Only that which is physical, that which is not physical, when the conscious lets go of the physical, the consciousness remains. Maybe not in the same space, but in the same space, yeah, that too. It remains. So there is only life. You have to listen to the others. Listen to the space. Listen to these things. Listen to an old fool like me. I'm telling you something. I'm telling you something because all that fell away. I saw and I see now. All I'm trying to do is to aid those around me who really want to know what is true. To aid them, aid you in your quest to understand and to relieve suffering. You can never relieve pain. You can relieve suffering. If one really wants to. But if we want to keep certain kinds of things going, it can't be done. Only when you're ready to let it all go and accept what is there, accept the truth in its nakedness, you're going to have pain. It's going to happen. Why? Because you are attached. You are attached in a physical world to all things, to love all things. You love a tree like you love a person. You love an animal like you love a person. You love. The key word here is love in its purity. not in its contaminated form. Its contaminated form is with insecurities, doubts, fears, greed, all these things. When it's that way, you don't experience the totality of the freedom of love. When you want to get away from pain, you're only going to make the pain worse, because you can never get away from pain. I experience pain every day, both physically, consciously. Why? Because of the stupidity that I see, the misuse of consciousness that I see. But at the same time, it's funny. It's so stupid, it's funny. It's like pee-pee jokes. When you look at a little kid tells pee-pee jokes, those are really so funny, but as you're older, it's not so funny. Well, trust me, pee-pee jokes are still funny to me. You doo-doo head is still funny to me. Because that little child still, that structure still is within me somewhere. And it automatically makes me go, tee, son. But inside, yeah. Here's where the issue begins and ends. How you perceive what is happening. How you perceive what is happening. Purely and simply, everything is okay. Everything is okay. People will go and come in your life and you will miss them. Things will go and come in your life and you will miss them. It's okay. Don't try to not miss them or not miss it, but allow it to be what it is. If you talk to yourself, it's like I've said before, if you talk to yourself about stuff, you're going to end up saying really stupid stuff. Someone talks about, oh, I can't live without so-and-so, I'll kill myself. Well, you know, I told a joke years ago. I said, you know, when people jump off of buildings and you hear that, ah, that's because they realize halfway down, I didn't really want to do this. They thought in the moment it sounds like a good idea. But it's not. That's because we start to talk to ourselves about what we feel. And we've done that ever since we were little. So one of the things that we haven't done is understand feelings at its purest level. At its purest level. We don't understand our relationships with each other at the purest level. Every relationship that happens has been established before birth. Now, that doesn't mean everything that goes down in there. I'm not saying that your life is preordained, but the coming together at certain points for the uplifting of your consciousness of both parties or all parties is there. That's why you feel certain kinds of attractions, because you'll feel those kinds of attractions because that was the agreement. This will happen. I will help you learn this if you help me learn that. See, we look at life only in this dimension. We only understand this dimension. Well, it is because our senses have been geared toward establishing this first, because this is where you're going to have to live when you're little. It's geared toward establishing that. But we forget there is more. We forget and we shut down our other senses. It's like so-called mediums speaking to the dead. That can happen with anyone. So-called seers of the past, I can see the future. Well, that can happen with anyone. I can see the past. That can happen with anyone. You have sensory organs that are open to these things, that were originally open to them. You can sense what something says. A wall, this. If you are open, if you realize that this is a place of focus, but it's not the only place of focus, and begin to allow the opening of those other sensory organs that are in your brain. They are there. They are there to a degree, okay? But what we allow to filter through is probably less than 1%. So we're not using everything that we have to be, I don't want to say better people, but to be better at what we do and better at what we're here to do. An organ. Blood is an organ. An organ is defined by several different tissues coming together to perform a function. That's a law. We say, okay. Mankind are several different things coming together to perform a function. And that function is the uplifting of the whole. Blood's function is the uplifting of the whole body. The law is within the person. The law is within you. Now, how do you understand that? By listening. Not listening with your ears, but being quiet. Coming to that place where quiet is acceptable. Blah, 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 blah is not acceptable about anything. Pain is acceptable because that pain carries with it a message. Now, you can take the message either way you want it, depending on how you are slanted or not slanted. If you're slanted to the left, it will be negative. If you're slanted to the right, it will be positive. If you are straight up and down, it will be just what it is. It will be pure. We like to think in terms of good and bad. In the whole scope of things, good and bad, things happen that are not very pleasant. But in the whole of things, because of those unpleasantries, mankind rises. And because nothing is ever gone or dead, the whole horror show is not so bad. Because you can't destroy it. It cannot be destroyed. Nothing can be destroyed. There's not one thing. It's only destroyed in the mind of those who only see this level of things, or this bubble of things. When you see more, You understand more. And you respond in a different way. You understand how things happen. You meet someone and there's something. What is that? Generally, it is the agreement that you've already made to touch each other's life in some way. It may just be like so. You feel it. You feel it. You feel it. When you're neither here nor there, but here, you get the message very cleanly and very clearly. And you go on. You rise. You rise. You rise. You rise. What's the benefit? The joy that you feel inside is immeasurable. You no longer want to fight. You no longer want to cause problems. As a matter of fact, given your others, you would solve problems. And you would solve problems not because I'm a problem solver, that's an ego trip, but because this many and this many make this many. You follow what I'm saying here? This many and this many make this many. There's no emotionalism involved in that. It is this element and this element makes this element. To solve the problem. To solve the problem of climate change, you simply, it's not political. It's a matter of SCIENCE. I think that spells science. It is a matter of that. We get into stuff because we say, well, we've got to compromise with this guy and with that guy. You're going to die. Okay, because this is science. Okay, it's not about politics. You're going to die. Okay, there's the thing. We feel purely. Feel. Not be emotional. Not combine all that other stuff. You feel like tears, you cry. But you don't let crying, you're just crying. You don't let it destroy you any more than when you're laughing. You don't let laughing destroy you. You're just laughing. It's in its proper place. I laugh. Ha 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 ha. Because something's funny. I cry because something inside me makes me cry. Something is missed. When I say something is missed, something is not there. You will miss it. It's not an intellectual pursuit. That feeling is there, and it gives you the message, eyes cry. There was a student who had become enlightened, and the master, the teacher, died. And the student was crying. And other students said, well, you're the number one student. Why are you crying? The answer was, I know not why these eyes cry, only that they cry. That is accepting it purely and simply. Something happened. They cry. By the same token, something happened. They laugh. It's not an intellectual pursuit. It is felt. The change in the world is felt. Not here. It becomes so ridiculous, it's funny. It is funny. Wow. You see people doing things and you wonder, what? People shooting people every day. You go. Till the only thing left is to go, damn, that's just weird. And there's something funny even about that. Because it's so far off. To feel. To just feel.